Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Podcast for today, Wednesday, November 2nd, 2022. Special shout out to my daughter. It's her birthday today. Happy birthday. We have a special guest on the podcast this morning. Everybody, let's welcome Chris Stephanopoulos, Max Brook Bloomfield to the podcast. Good morning, Chris.
Morning.
Excellent. We also have with us top 1% of all mortgage bankers in the United States of America, Mr. John Cole. Morning, John.
Morning, everyone.
And the host with the most hardcore mortgage real estate business show heard every Saturday morning on 97.1 FM from 9 to 10 a.m. Again, every Saturday morning. We have Mr. Harvey Freed. Good morning, Harvey.
Good morning, everybody.
Excellent. Listen, Chris, we got to get into it right now. You know, the market has been changing. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of buyers out there. We're going to get into you right away. What's going on with you, your buyers, your sellers? How have you been doing this market? What have you been doing? What's changed for you? Let us know what's going on with you, my man. It's all about you.
All right. So, as you know, big difference in the market from where we were in June, especially from where we were in February. Our buyers lately, so on my listing side, my listings have been going up. Surprisingly, what I'm seeing, as we all know, the interest rate increases have affected the buyer's market, but they're affecting the sellers in a way that was kind of unanticipated, in the sense that a lot of people who have a W-2 job, who probably bought a house a little above their means in the last 2 years, let's say they went from $400,000 to $700,000 because the interest rates were there for them at that time and they wanted to upgrade. These people lately are relisting their homes and going back to the $500,000 home. Shockingly, I think because they're afraid of this coming recession. And that being said, I mean, what I like to tell my buyers and clients, in recessions, home values, as many people don't know, rise, right? They're a hedge against inflation. Looking at the numbers for home price appreciation in 2023, economists predict 4.19%. 2024, 3.9%. 2025, 3.8%, right? And this kind of buyer fear of the current market climate is just, it's not in the data. It's all these clickbait websites that are saying, oh, foreclosures are up, be afraid, interest rates are up, etc. But the data is showing you that all of the things that caused our last crash are not there currently.
Yeah, you're right, Chris. I got to tell you, Chris, I got to interject here. You're the first guy that's come on in the last, 7, 8, 9 months and said that, people are afraid and they're relisting their homes. As a matter of fact, that's great information. You're the first person that's come on and said that. What people are saying is they're seeing a lot of activity. They're seeing that there are plenty of buyers out there and maybe even bounce back buyers that were on the sidelines that are coming back into the market. But you're the first guy that says, and I don't believe in the fear. And we did a show about it last weekend about accurate versus inaccurate information in the media. But you're telling me there's real buyer fear. And you've got people that you've sold homes that are relisting their homes that maybe want to downsize.
Yeah, it's shocking. I'm getting a listing a week right now.
That's amazing.
It's shocking.
John Cole, your thoughts on what Chris is saying?
I mean, it's great for Chris. I just don't understand it. It's if you've got a $700,000 home at 3% and you're downsizing to a $500,000 home at 7.5%, aren't the payments the same?
Yeah, exactly. Payments are almost the same, and people, I don't know. People are.
How does it benefit them? What is their end goal there? Just to have a smaller home? I mean, if they had just bought that home, I don't know what their end goal is. If the end goal was saving money on a monthly basis, it's not happening for them.
Well, maybe they can sell it at a higher price, maybe, and make some money. Maybe that's what Chris is saying. John, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, this is a very new twist on what we've been hearing. And, breaking news here, maybe because Chris has the last name of Stephanopoulos, maybe he's got to break some news because maybe his older brother George didn't announce that, right, Chris?
Yeah, he's keeping it to himself and buying up all the properties he can.
There you go. Harvey Freed, comment on what Chris is saying. It's a different twist than what we've been hearing, huh?
I like some different angles. And again, everyone's in a little bit different marketplace. It is, as we say, every transaction could be a little bit different. Hey, Chris, a lot of these people got in the market because they were FOMO, we call it, fear of missing out. They dove right in. They were okay with it. They didn't want to miss out on that $100,000 in net profit that it appeared to be out there. And now there's a little bit of fear out there for some of those families, maybe. And that's okay. It's going to increase the inventory. This rise of Fed funds policy has driven up the mortgage interest rates. Again, Fed's going to talk again today. Mortgage rates continue to go up, and it's taken away some buyers. It just is, and it's scaring some folks.
Well, Chris, let me give it to you this way, okay? Maybe, just maybe, Chris, people bought houses that they really didn't want to be in. Maybe they're just seeing now this a year and a half, 2 years later that, there was a lot of competition and there is a silver lining to all this. There's less competition in the market now for buyers, but maybe the buyers that you're referencing, and we'll move on a little bit, but maybe the buyers that you're referencing, maybe they want to take a little profit. Maybe they want to go ahead and get into a home, maybe that they really wanted to begin with. And maybe, just maybe, they're thinking they can get a deal on those homes. Because let's face it, Chris, moving on to our next topic, what we're seeing is a stabilization in the market. There is price compression, right? I mean, existing home listing and new construction shortages, which is really the opposite of supply and demand. We're seeing actually prices stabilize. Is that what you're seeing?
I'm seeing prices stabilize, but at their new appraisal values, like they're not going backwards. So that 30% gain in equity from 2020 to 2022, that's kind of the new price point. Now, these buyers, though, because a lot of people are sitting on the fence because of the 7% rates, right? These buyers are getting concessions. So I'm not seeing that the value of the home, let's say it was worth 185 in 2020 and it's 275 today, right? It's staying at 275. The bank's appraising it at 275, but the buyer can now probably get some concessions because there's just less competition.
Yeah, I like that. I like what Chris has to say. This is the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Podcast, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding, powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 2289 for Wednesday, November 2nd, 2022. We have Chris Stephanopoulos, Maxbrook, Bloomfield on Telegraph Road on our podcast today, sharing a lot of great information. We're having some fun. He's enthusiastic. He's got a lot of energy. John Kolb, what we're seeing is that, yes, there is a stabilization in the market, as Chris points out. And like John Kolb referenced on previous podcasts, we're not going to go ahead and see a housing crash. The market is stable, plenty of jobs. There's a lot of liquidity in the economy. People have a lot of cash on the sidelines because they don't know where to invest. They took a look at the stock market. They took a look at their 401k go down to a 301k. Market's making a comeback, but John Kolb, a lot of cash on the sidelines. But what we're seeing, as Chris said, we're seeing it stabilize. You're not seeing the huge increases anymore translated into the overbidding, the craziness that went on, 50,000, 100,000 over ask, multiple offers in one day, 15, 20 offers. But we're seeing a stabilization with some seller concessions, as Chris pointed out, John.
Yeah, it's, we know the prices aren't going to go down, but, what's happening is the Fed is stalling the entire market with the triple S's, right? Saying stupid, and I'll leave the other S word out. And they're about to do it again today. So, maybe inflation doesn't need to be tamed as much as they think it does. Maybe this is the new norm. Maybe they could allow some of these things to play out outside of what history has already showed us, and not repeat itself like they did in 2008 and 1981. And maybe we might have a different outcome. But, that's for a different conversation. Election day is around the corner. Make sure you vote the right way. And but everything's priced priced the right way. I love what Chris is saying. I'm so happy he brought this topic up because it is new, innovative, and a new topic that we haven't talked about. So I appreciate that. And yeah, I think, hey, get out there, get into the home that you want. Don't worry about rates. They're going to come back down and we'll be able to take care of you.
Yeah. Hey, Harvey Freed, you work with a lot of first-time home buyers. You've been doing this over 30 years. You are the host, 23 years into the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate and Business Show, heard every Saturday on 97.1 FM from 9 to 10. You're seeing a lot of first-time home buyers right now. You work with a lot, and you like to educate your buyers what they should ask, what's going on, what they need to know going into pre-qualification and a new project that they might be undertaking for the first time in their lives, Harvey. You're working with a lot of these people. You have your ear to the street. What's going on from your perspective with first-time home buyers? Is it a lot different now than when you started, just say back in the day?
Well, I think even Chris and I will both agree that it's nicer now that it became a little bit more balanced market where there are some sellers concessions being offered, where first-time home buyers could look at their overall financial picture. Of course, we start talking about sellers concessions. So if the sellers are going to be willing to contribute money, that's money that stays in a buyer's pocket. And the buyer can use it for different ways. Chris, you and I talked about the 2-1 buy down. Maybe it makes sense for somebody putting a lot of money down. Maybe taking the money and permanently buying down the interest rate, paying a discount point towards lowering a fixed rate. And last but not least, maybe just using the seller's concessions towards closing costs and prepaids. That's hard-earned money, $5,000, $6,000, $8,000 that stays in a buyer's pocket that they can use that to pay off their credit cards and take a look at their overall financial picture. Again, it's not just sign here, what worked for Joe down the street is going to work for me. They really need to sit down with the professionals. Chris, for being in the industry for the last 4 or 5 years, you've seen some interesting things already. And I think you got great perspective on it. So definitely looking forward to working with you a little bit and maybe helping some buyers get into their first home.
Yeah, me too, Harvey.
Hey, Chris, I have a question for you. What are your thoughts coming up for, December, January, February, and rolling right into the spring in March and April? What are your thoughts? Where do you see this market going in the next, say, 4 to 5 months? And I don't like them. When you predict the weather, you're always wrong. Okay, you can only be half right. So we're not in the prediction business. My question is really coming from a place to you're on the street every day. All right. You're talking to buyers, you're talking to sellers, you're surveying the market every single day. Go ahead and project down the road for me. What's the feel in your office, the feel with the people that you talk to every day? How do they see things shaping up for the next 4 to 5 months rolling into spring? Because we have a take on that, but I want to hear what your take is.
Yeah, so what I'm seeing just generally, anecdotally, from my own buyers and from the agents in my office is that they're going to, normally, obviously, we have a little bit of a slowdown in the winter months because sellers, they want to wait until spring when their house shows better, right? Now, that being said, winter is an incredible opportunity to buy for a buyer, especially in this market. So you already have people waiting on the fence because of interest rate, right? You have the combination of winter coming. And I don't see why any buyer in their right mind wouldn't be actively looking for a home this winter when they could get it probably for a steal.
Yeah, I like that. And I guess the silver lining to all this, and then I want to get into the topic of the Fed with John, because I know John loves to talk about this. But the silver lining, Chris, to all of this is rates went up too fast, too soon, and they're going to come down at some point. We do know that. Buyers are finding homes, and bounce back buyers are facing less competition. And as you're saying, people are putting their homes on the market, and sellers are giving more than they've had to in the past. Sellers concessions, everything like that. All cash offers and crazy overlist offers have calmed way down. The inflation fears will come under control. There shouldn't be a fear. I mean, listen, it's easy to say, but let's face it, the price of bread, gas, and everything else went up. But it's going to have to, inflation is going to have to be under control, and rates are going to have to come down. With that, I have to turn to one of my favorite topics with John Cole, because John and I are extremely opinionated. But John, let me ask you this question. Fed concludes the November meeting today. Okay. I said, and we have it on tape, we have it on video, we have it on audio. I say that they're going to continue to raise. And today, most economists, 87% of the economists out there say they're going to increase 75 basis points. Okay. Which leaves there's a 13% chance. And I believe it's going to be 75 basis points because if they do anything more or anything less, and they're so stuck in their ways, they want to stick to this plan, which I don't think is a good plan. I'm just saying that they're going to raise it 75 basis points. There is a shot that they may have a surprise. I don't know. I'm always looking for the surprise because maybe, hopefully, they're going to surprise us and only raise it 50 bips. If they only raise it, remember, I said 75, but if they only do 50 bips, that's a concession to their plan, and they know that they did things too fast, too soon. I don't think they're going to go that way because they like being right. So my prediction, John Kolb, is 75 bips with a 13% outside chance they do something different. Most economists say 75. What do you think, John Kolb?
Well, first, let's just talk about the elephant in the room, that Harry is once again sidling each side of the fence on his predictions. I mean, because I can never be wrong. So, hey, what do I think? I think that they're going to raise it to 75 basis points.
Wait, Chris, did I not say 75 basis points?
But with the 13%.
Okay, John, go ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
I think they're going to raise it to 75 basis points. I think they're going to, maybe back off on some of their statements that they've previously said in their follow-up meeting after. Remember, if they raise it 75 basis points, we all knew that was coming. The market's not going to shift until they have their after meeting, until they go in there and blow their nose and sneeze and say something the wrong way. But that's when they're going to kind of back off some of the settlement. But what you will see is a lot of the foreign countries coming out in the next couple of days after they do this, telling us to once again stop increasing our interest rates because it's affecting the world markets. And like we have talked about and time again, that historically history has shown us that they keep doing this and it's the wrong thing. And next year they're going to have to start cutting interest rates. So that's what I've been saying for a while. I'll continue to say it, even though Harry likes to sidle the fence. But that's okay. That's what Harry does, and that's why we love him.
Well, that's certainly not true, John. That's certainly fake news, and you should understand that more than anybody. But what I said is 75 bips today, and I will also go on record, John. I will also go on record in front of Chris, who is a new witness to everything today. 75 bips. Yes, I'm hoping for a surprise, but 75 bips. But this leaves the question open, John, and correct me if I'm wrong. And this is where it gets fun, Chris, for us here in the mortgage banking industry. My opinion is that they will continue to raise. John, I believe, John, please correct me if I'm wrong. You think they're going to stop?
After this year, yes.
After this year or today?
After this year.
So you say you are open to another raise in December is what you're saying?
I'm not open to it. I'm not open to it.
But you're saying they're going to do it?
Yes.
Okay, so you and I, watch this, Chris. This is how much fun we have here. John and I are agreeing now. We agree that there's going to be a 75 bip raise today, and they're going to raise one more time this year. Now, I will say they're going to raise one more time and possibly more after that. John disagrees with that. He thinks they're done after this year. Right, John? Say yes or no.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. All right, moving on. Harvey Freed. Let's talk about what you got coming on the show, and then we're going to wrap it up. We're going to give Chris the last word. He's been an awesome guest. This is the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show podcast, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding, powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. Why do we have to do this, Chris? Compliance and legal. Equal Housing Lender 2289. Harvey Freed, what do we have coming on the show this weekend?
Well, here we're going to have Stacey Taylor from Quest Realty coming on. She's going to be hopefully sharing all this information, and we'll have a lot to talk about in regards to even what Chris is saying. I agree with him. There's plenty of articles out there. We always say it's situational. I think our region is seeing some stability, but there's no doubt that 41% lower purchase applications from this time in 2021 to right now, not quite 50% off, but 41% lower applications. It's an opportunity. it's just the way people view things. Half the clients out there are scared, and then the other half are going to see it as an opportunity, Chris. And like you said, get out there and get that seller's concessions, buy that house during December, January, February, before everyone comes back out in March and wants to fight over all the houses.
You know what, Chris? Hey, Chris, you're a great guest. I want to lay this on you, and I want to hear your last words. I'm going to lay this on you. Unit sales from last year to this year to last year, I should say, are down. But what's not down are the housing prices. So the dollar sales are actually higher. The units are down. Now, specifically to your area, metropolitan Detroit area, we say it's all situational. We're still seeing a lot of buyers, and we're still seeing homes not only on all ends of the spectrum, low end to high end, still selling. Maybe, Chris, maybe they're on the market a little longer, but there's still a lot of active buyers out there, Chris.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the thing kind of where people get it twisted. In the last 2 years, you had all of the craziness that we all experienced where homes were selling in, 12, 48 hours. Right now, the average time on market for a home is about, 14 days, which is in 2019, it was also 14 days, right? So we're just in a normal market. Don't let the recent craziness fool you. We're in the same market we were in 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and you just have a better opportunity right now, especially coming into this winter, to get some concessions.
I love that. Chris, you've been an awesome guest. And also bottom line is, because we do have a little inside information, what we've been saying, Chris, is forget about 2021 and this part of 22. It wasn't reality. We're getting back to reality right now. This is a normal market. People got spoiled, John Kolb. Houses selling in a day or two? Come on, help me out, John.
That's just not the norm. It was kind of frustrating because you were writing pre-approval after pre-approval, a day in, day out, just for different homes because clients couldn't get even an offer in. So we're back to normal. We're back to this is the best of all worlds, with the exception of the Fed being idiots. We've got very good values. We've got a mixed buyer seller. What am I trying to say, Harry? Mixed buyer seller market where the buyer can go in, ask for concessions, seller still getting top dollar. It's the perfect storm right now. If we could just get the rates in line and keep them a little stagnant at between 5 and 7, that might be a little bit better than 8.
Yeah, I agree with that, John. And John, the word you were looking for, since I am a wordsmith and I'll help you out and I have your back always, is balanced. It's a more balanced market.
Thank you.
It's not crazy tilted as a seller's market anymore. And it's not really tilted in the buyer's market. They're both giving in a little bit more. They're not asking to waive inspections any longer. It's more of a balanced market. So I do agree with that. And I'll fill in words anytime you want, John. I appreciate that. Harvey Freed, last words.
Thank you so much. Chris, I just want you to know that Harry's age and wisdom really shows on this, mostly his age. Roberto, we really got to work on those spotlights above Harry and Harvey's heads. It's really starting to shine and get in Chris eyes. We don't have that problem over here.
And I appreciate that. And that's why there's a saying out there, everybody, youth is wasted on the young, because what you don't know when you are younger, you'll understand, appreciate. And that's why I appreciate you, John, Harvey, Chris, and Roberto so much, because, through experience, I've learned patience and I've learned tolerance. And I have to be patient and tolerant with you guys. Harvey Freed, what do you say?
Well, again, hey, Chris, thanks for coming on. We're going to look forward to working with some buyers with you. And I hope we can do a couple of transactions before the new year. Maybe these young buyers, like you said, the first-time buyers, get that opportunity to get the seller's concessions, get into that cool house. There's a lot of homes listed. So I think now is that unbelievable window. And look at the weather cooperating with us. You can't beat some 70-degree weather this week to get some more families in there into their new home.
Yeah, that's great. Chris, you got the last words. We appreciate you being on the show. Give me some last words. Give me an inspiration for the day. You're awfully fun to be with. You've got great insight. You brought a new topic to us today, which was unbelievable. We want to thank you. Give me what you got. Chris Stephanopoulos, Max Brook Bloomfield here. Last words of the day.
Last words I would say, guys, is look at the data to get you off the fence. Don't click at all the clickbait articles and all the fear that's being out there. And just one perfect last example about this kind of false fear. People are talking about, oh, foreclosures are up 7,000%, whatever. And it's like, well, where's that data, right? 2016, 2 million foreclosures, right? This quarter in the whole country, 218,000 homeowners facing foreclosure, of who 200,000 have equity, right? So we're talking about a group of 14,000 people of 200 million homeowners. Like, get out of here. Like, look at the data, get off the fence, and don't be afraid of this market. It's an opportunity.
I love that. That's Chris Stephanopoulos, Maxbrook Realtor in Bloomfield. He's telling you, everybody out there, listen, do your own homework, do your own research, gather your own team, and make the best decision for yourself. Because you know what? Nobody else is going to make that mortgage payment for you. Nobody else is going to buy that house for you. It's all of your responsibility, and you have a responsibility to you and your family to do the research. Don't listen to everybody else. Do your own research, but gather a great team. And I certainly have a great team to work with here. Capital Mortgage Funding, powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. I have on this podcast Harvey Freed, John Kolb, our producer and director in the booth, Roberta Beauchene, and of course, special guest today was Chris Stephanopoulos. Chris, thank you very much. And that is our podcast for Wednesday. Happy birthday, Sid, November 2nd, 2022. Thanks a lot, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.